Imagine this. You wake up one morning, ready to start your day, and you find out your entire financial life has been put on hold, completely frozen. It's a total nightmare, right? Well, today we're going to tackle that exact scenario and give you a roadmap out.
It always starts with something small. Something you do every day. You're at a cafe, you go to pay for your coffee, you tap your card, and declined. That's weird. You try again, nothing. Just an error message.
And that's when this cold, sinking feeling hits you. You pull out your phone, open your banking app, and there it is. Or rather, there isn't. You can't transfer money, you can't pay a bill, you can't do anything. Your entire financial world has just slammed to a halt, and you have absolutely no idea why.
You know you haven't done anything illegal. You're just living your life, earning a salary, maybe running a small business online. So how on earth did you end up in this digital prison? And more importantly, how do you break out?
Okay, so to figure out the solution, you first have to understand the trap. There's a system in place that's designed to hunt down cybercriminals, but the way it's built, it sometimes casts a net so wide that it catches innocent people too.
Here's the deal. India's system for fighting cyber fraud, which uses tools like the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal, or NCRP, and the 1930 helpline, is built for one thing above all else: speed. When a complaint comes in, it triggers an instant, automated chain reaction to trace and block stolen money before it disappears forever. Precision? Well, that's a secondary concern.
So this is how you get swept up in it. Picture this. A victim reports the scam. The police trace the money to the scammer's bank account. We'll call that layer 1. But that scammer is fast. They immediately bounce the money to a bunch of other accounts. Layer 2, layer 3, and so on. Now, if you received a perfectly legitimate payment from any one of those accounts in that chain, maybe it was a client paying an invoice, bam, your account gets flagged as part of the money trail, and you become, for lack of a better term, collateral damage.
All right, listen up, because this next part is maybe the single most important piece of information you'll need. Understanding the difference between a freeze and a lien. This is the key that can unlock this whole mess for you.
So, on one hand, you've got a debit freeze. This is a sledgehammer. It locks down everything, every single rupee. Your salary gets credited? Sorry, it's frozen. You need to pay your rent? Too bad. It's a total shutdown. But on the other hand, you have what's called a lien. This is like a surgical tool. A lien only blocks the specific, disputed amount of money. So let's say you have a lock in your account, but the shady transaction was for just 5,000 rupees. A lien holds only that 5,000, and you're free to use the other 95,000. See the difference? It's huge. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The Delhi High Court has been very clear on this. They've literally said that marking a lien should be the first and foremost option for the police. The law actually favors the surgical approach. So your first objective is to convince the authorities to use the scalpel, not the sledgehammer. Okay, so you get the problem, you know the crucial difference between a freeze and a lien. Now, what do you actually do? Let's get practical. Here is a clear 4-step action plan to get your account back. This is your roadmap. First, step 1, contact your bank. And you're not just calling to complain, you need 2 critical pieces of information in writing: the name of the police station that ordered the freeze and the case or crime number. Without those, you're stuck. Step 2, engage the police. With that info, you or your lawyer need to submit a formal letter packed with evidence, invoices, chat logs, anything that proves the transaction was legitimate. Step 3, escalate. Now what if they just ignore you? Don't wait around. Escalate to their senior officers and use the RTI, the Right to Information Act, to officially ask what's being done. It forces them to respond. And finally, if all that fails, step 4, go to court. It's your last resort, but it is also your most powerful one.
I know, this can feel like it's you against this giant, faceless system. But here's the thing, you are not going into this fight empty-handed. The law itself has rules and limits that the police have to follow, and knowing these rules is your best defense.
Now pay very close attention to this one. Section 106, subsection 3 of the new legal code is basically your secret weapon. It says that any police officer who freezes a bank account, which the law calls seizing property, has to immediately report it to a magistrate. That word forthwith is key. It means right away. And you know what? In a lot of these cases, especially across different states, this step gets missed. That failure by the police can be your single strongest argument for getting the entire freeze thrown out as illegal.
Take a look at this number, 105 rupees. What could that possibly be? It seems like nothing, right? Well, that is the actual amount of a disputed transaction that led to someone's entire bank account, with lakhs of rupees in it, being completely paralyzed. The Delhi High Court pointed to cases just like this to show how insane and disproportionate a total freeze can be. It's a powerful real-world example to have in your back pocket.
And look, it's not just one court saying this. High courts across India have basically built a legal toolkit for you. The Madras High Court says a total freeze can violate your fundamental right to livelihood. The Delhi High Court gives you the argument to demand a lien instead. And the Kerala High Court created an out. If the police drag their feet and don't report the freeze to a magistrate in time, the bank has to lift it. This isn't just legal trivia. This is your ammunition.
So, you've followed the plan, you've used the law to your advantage, and hopefully, you're getting your money back. The big question now is, how do you make sure you never have to walk through this maze again?
It really comes down to some good old-fashioned financial hygiene. First, keep amazing records. Invoices, emails, chats, save everything. Second, be a little paranoid. If you get a large or weird payment, ask questions before you accept it. Third, lock down your accounts with two-factor authentication. And fourth, check your bank statements regularly. The golden rule, of course, never changes. Never, ever, ever share your passwords or OTPs with anyone. Period.
So, at the end of the day, you now have a map to escape this nightmare. But it leaves us with a much bigger question, not just for you, but for the people who designed this system. In the rush to fight crime, how many innocent people have to get their lives frozen before we admit that maybe, just maybe, the maze itself needs to be redesigned? Thanks for joining us.